Week 7 in the Always Sunny in Sayreville League. And that game was a total clunker. You know which one I'm talking about. This is the weekly update. Alright, so before we get to the matchup of the week, let's talk about something good. Huh? It seems like the moth is finally starting to come out of his cocoon. And he showed it by beating up on the open slot 173.7 to 143.3. 6 players in the Moth's lineup scored 20 or more points, led by Le'Veon Bell's 28.5, Tony Romo's 27.7, and Roddy White's 25. The 30-plus point margin was the biggest blowout of the week, as the Moth registered the week's highest score, the 3rd highest score of the year, and he narrowly missed one of the top 10 highest scores of all time. Now, it's also important to note that the open slot was not a pushover in this game. They scored over 140 points. Not too many teams would have beat them this week. They came into the game with a much better record than the Moth. They were coming off a big win from the week before, and so this ended up being a pretty big upset. And for that, the Moth is this week's hero. And now we come to this week's GOAT. The matchup between She Gave Me the Crabtrees and Le'Veon's Blounts was a close game. And that's pretty much the only positive thing you can say about it. This matchup disappointed everybody in every way it possibly could have. Le'Veon's Blounts won the game with only 2 players scoring in double digits. It was pretty much a one-man show. Peyton Manning scored 36.6 points and Michael Floyd blah blah blah. On the other side, She Gave Me the Crabtrees actually had 3 players that scored in double digits. That was Phil Rivers with an 18.2, Mike Wallace with a 16, and Jermaine Gresham with a 14.8. We have a Jermaine Gresham sighting. Jermaine Gresham. Now, I mentioned that Peyton Manning scored 36.6 points. Well, the other 6 players on She Gave Me the Crabtrees, the guys who didn't score in double digits, all 6 guys together only scored 34.8 points. Peyton Manning, by himself, outscored 6 players on She Gave Me the Crabtrees. And so, you know, it's pretty much going to be a wrap regardless. But it still only ended up being like a 6-point game. In his biggest matchup of the year so far, after a new name, after making a couple of really good trades to strengthen his squad, Bobby J could only manage 83.8 points in losing to Le'Veon's Blounts. It was the lowest score of the week and the 5th lowest score of the year. And after all that jawing back and forth, Bobby J loses the Bitter Bowl, falling to 1-2 all time against Johnny Ortiz. And for that, She Gave Me the Crabtrees is this week's GOAT. Okay, your commissioner cares about you, and your commissioner, whenever he can, will deliver the goods. And right now, we're going to get Bobby J on the line, and we're going to talk to him about this crushing defeat versus Le'Veon's Blounts. Hey, Bobby.
What's up, Dave?
Hey, man. Thank you for taking a few minutes. We really appreciate it here at the Always Sunny in Sayreville Fantasy Football League TV show. So, tough one this weekend, huh?
Well, first of all, I'd like to be the adult in this situation and congratulate Le'Veon Blounts on their very, very slim margin of victory over my team, but it is a victory for them nonetheless, and congratulations to this sort of team.
Classy as always, my man. Classy as always. 83.8 points, though. That's not what you wanted to see.
Yes, not a good showing by the Crabtrees. I agree.
Well, you started off well.
I had him going into the late game.
So, I mean, what happened, man? How do you think what happened?
Well, considering that I have a black hole at running back, I thought I represented myself very, very well. Not to mention the fact that Mr. Ortiz left almost 60 fantasy points on his bench. But I guess when you have Peyton Manning, you know, and he's your whole team, you can pretty much win any matchup. So probably why he's 6-1 right now.
All right. I have got to ask. This is the question on everyone's lips. What is your reaction to Ortiz calling for your retirement?
Well, Ortiz likes to run his mouth, and that's fine. And, he can run his mouth all he wants. And, when he makes the playoffs and when he realizes that his team is only one player and he faces some of the better teams in the league, he's in for a rude awakening. So he can call for my retirement all he wants, but, whatever.
So the whole thing rests on Peyton, huh?
Yeah.
He runs the show?
Yep. Just one player.
So this loss moves you to 1-2 all time against Johnny Ortiz. Now that can't feel good.
Yeah, well, the kid's been a thorn in my side. There's no denying that. But next year, hopefully, the fantasy gods will not have cursed me with Adrian Peterson like they did this year, and I can come back strong. And I will take this defeat and I'll put it in the bank and I'll use it as motivation to destroy him next year.
That's right, and I see that you made some trades to try to strengthen your team a little bit, and I see that in a very uncharacteristic Bobby J move, you actually, unlike last year, dropped players who are injured and or out for the season. Last year you decided to keep them on your team all year long, but this year you're actually dropping the guys, which is really, really good progress for you, man. I'm proud of you.
Well, I kind of looked at last year as a badge of honor, because, this way people know that my team stunk last year because I had pretty much an all-pro team on the bench injured. So.
All right, man. Good stuff. Thank you very much for your time, Bobby. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me, Mr. Commissioner. Always a pleasure.
There you have it, guys. Bobby J, this week's GOAT. Don't worry. I hear it happens to a lot of guys. Okay, so that was a classy little spot with Bobby J, I have to say. So now we move over to the winning locker room and speak with Johnny Ortiz from Le'Veon's Blounts. John, thanks for taking a few minutes.
How's it going, Commish?
It's going great. It's going great. So you got to feel good about the win, though it was a really ugly game. How did you feel about the matchup with the Crabtrees?
Well, it wasn't an impressive victory. It's kind of like a brown helmet victory. However, I'll take the win, and Bobby J sucks, and he still won't retire.
After all the trash talk, you backed it up, and now you hold a 2-1 lifetime advantage over Bobby J. That's got to feel pretty good.
I think I definitely stuck one into Bobby J. You suck. Yeah, you just quit. Seriously, just quit. Do yourself a favor. I mean, Anthony's doing better than you.
Ooh, shots fired. I'll bet you that you and Bobby J have a lot closer of a relationship than you're letting on. Do you have any words of encouragement for your little rivalry going forward?
Bobby, fuck you. I'll see you next year, Bobby, because you're not going to be in the playoffs, basically.
Cold-blooded. All right, John, thank you very much for a couple of minutes.
All right, back to you in the studio.
There you have it. Another classy interview. All right, guys. This next segment is the mid-season power rankings. Now, I'm doing them a little differently this year. Instead of just shooting over to the stat room and having them read off the power rankings, I figured what I would do is post them on the league page, and I'm also going to open up a message thread that we can kind of all debate the power rankings, and that way I can kind of make a little segment about it for next week's special, using your guys' opinions about the power rankings for the league as it stands midway through the season. So take a look at the league page and go ahead and reply to the thread and let me know what you think. Next up is key matchups. Okay, this week we're going to keep our eye on two specific games. There are a couple of pretty interesting games on the bill this week, but we're going to look at 4-3 Shower Hug taking on 5-2 Team Blumpkin. Now these are two teams that are near the top of their division. They're both trying to establish their own sort of space, cut out a niche for themselves, but they also have a couple of holes that they're dealing with on their rosters. So it should be interesting to see which team puts together the bigger performance this week. The other game we're going to be taking a look at is 6-1 Rusty Strombone taking on 3-4 Gotham Rogues. Now, don't let the 3-4 record fool you. The Gotham Rogues have firepower, and they are a team that is definitely capable of scoring with the offensive juggernaut that is the Rusty Strombone. So this is another game that could provide a pretty interesting outcome, as long as they don't put together like another double-digit clunker. So that's it, guys. Week 7 update over. Remember to set your lineups. Remember that the trade deadline is Wednesday, November 12th at noon. That's the Wednesday after the Week 10 games. So just be aware of that. A couple weeks away. And I will see you next week, where it's always sunny.